Where was the highlight, Renee?
That in bed.
them and met with Tiffany, who's the head of the program, and we discussed partnering with them. They're targeting 9 communities, and one of them is Farmington Hills. And their target demographic, I guess, is women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, those affected by COVID-19, and those with revenue under $1 million. And so they have all these resources that they have for this demographic, and they want to make sure they get the word out. So they want to use our space, highlight our resources that we have for them, and that kind of stuff. So that's a great opportunity for us. So we'll be looking for that. National Library Week is April 3rd through the 9th. The theme this year is Connect with Your Library. And so we're planning a week of community engagement and staff appreciation. And the Friends is also committed to bringing in treats for the staff. We had a lot of positive comments. Crystal, can you switch to the comment slide? Can you hear me? Anyway, we had a lot of positive comments this time, once again. Some of them are all from the same person that you can tell is a middle school student. Especially the one about the playing area for 0 to 16 years.
Yeah.
So, but those are fun to read through. And yeah, the bigger play area, the make computers without passwords, meaning you should be able just to get on a computer without a guest pass. Oh, Carrie's here. Okay. So anyway, a lot of positive comments. We've gotten a few more, which just came through. So that's a good thing to hear. We're very happy to see that our community appreciates us. Meeting room policy, just because this has been a topic of conversation lately, I just wanted to go over what our meeting room policy, what it actually says. And what's come up lately is specifically the charging of nonprofits and those that focus on youth. Usually it's not an issue that the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts come to rent at the library because they have the schools, but since COVID hit, they can't get into the schools. And so now they're looking for a space that's, that they can use. The meeting rooms, our policy states the meeting rooms are available for a fee to nonprofit, organized, cultural, educational, political. Only elected representatives may rent a room, and civic groups in the cities of Farmington and Farmington Hills, provided their meetings are open to the public. We are unable to accommodate the press requests for private parties. The meeting rooms are available to groups and businesses in the cities of Farmington and Farmington Hills, provided that the intended use will complement and not conflict with the library's objectives. Organizational representatives applying for room reservations must be Farmington Community Library card holders. Reservation must include time, group setup, and cleanup, blah, blah, blah. Generally, we reserve the right not to charge organizations. We, last minute ones, whatever. We partner with Farmington Public Schools, the DDA, both cities, and elected officials in many ways. And so we choose sometimes not, we don't usually charge them because they're community partners. In the 2018, the last time we have statistics, the 2018-2019 fiscal year, at the main library, 91% of the room rentals were nonprofit. And then of the 10 surrounding libraries we pull, only 4, Rochester, Troy, Northville, Canton, do not charge nonprofits, and the average cost for renting a room is between $15 and $20 an hour. So at this time, we're not recommending any change be made to the meeting room policy or fees charged. However, we have gone to the Friends and asked, we've gone to the Friends board president, Stacy, to consider subsidizing youth-centric organizations who may want to rent meeting rooms, and they will take that under discussion, but right now their citywide mailing and their gala is the focus for them right now, so that's not going to happen anytime soon. But that's where we stand on meeting rooms. Staffing, Deb Hemme has left us. It's very sad, but we're very sad, but good for her. So she is now the director of the Huntington Woods Public Library, effective March 7th. So on Monday was her first day. So we're once again hiring for that position. We also just hired for the head of circulation services at the Farmington Library. That one has been vacant for a couple of years. and that's Hannah Herring. She was a part-time library assistant, and so she was promoted to that position. So she's very excited about that. Her first day in that position will be March 27th. We celebrated birthdays in February. Cynthia Gay, Jen Hassel, Lori Salinger, Ashley Sims, Hannah Chow, Jen McKee. We had vanilla celebration cake with sprinkles, because sprinkles are the best. I get to choose the cake, so I always get to my favorites. So conference attendance, PLA is coming out March 22nd through the 25th. Maria and Crystal both received a $1,600 stipend to attend. So Maria, Crystal, and I will all be going to that. Kathy McKinney is attending and will be presenting at the IUG conference, which is your Innovative Users Group, which is our cataloging system. So she's presenting, her topic is Vega, from implementation to patron usage. And Vega is, again, that enhanced catalog where you get all of your books and audio CDs on that one line instead of having to search through several. And it has a lot more stuff in there too. Common program, popular programs. Battle of the Books is coming up Monday, April 25th. They're looking for volunteers in case anybody wants to. Oh, okay.
I'll be a scorer.
Okay, I will. Kathy, Jim, you said what? You will be there anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
What
So-
time?
So it's 7 to 9. You would want to be there on 6:45ish to get 6:30 maybe to get instructions. But they're looking for costume judges.
Oh, yeah, sign me up.
Okay. Okay, Kathy score, Jeanette costume. Okay, and Jim, you just
Whatever. Yeah.
Jim, whatever. Okay. We started a new club, Thursday afternoon club for kids grades 3 through 5. This is STEM projects, art, and making healthy snacks. It's a relatively new program, which has been very successful, I think. It's been good. The spring card making class, this is back by popular demand. People love this class. There's waiting lists for it. It's crazy. Michigan's Most Dangerous Women is coming up, in case you wanted to know.
It's tonight.
Oh, sorry, you're missing
Bummer.
it. Bummer.
Crystal's gonna give me the lowdown tomorrow.
Right. Bird watching versus birding is coming up if you're into that. Of course, our popular Harry Potter house party, we have 2 age groups, ages 10 to 16 and ages 17 to 99. And then the Healthy Living series, which is in partnership with Beaumont, the power of food and nutrition. Also, I want to bring to your attention that the governor wrote us a letter. I included that in the packet because it was Marjorie is reading month, and so she sent her thanks through a letter. What else do I have on my? Okay, Kagam Tazian, he's the artist that did the sculpture out in the fountain. So he stopped in last week and wants to know if there's any money to refinish the sculpture because it's looking ragged. So so we looked it up, and I think it was done, Donald, I think it was done in 2009.
I couldn't find any data.
I have a receipt. It cost us $5,000 and we sent it to some foundry in Detroit. I don't remember. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. But he's also looking to donate another piece of artwork to the library.
Nice.
So he just wants us to go take a look and pick something. So we're going to do that.
He was my teacher at SEC.
I also want to talk to you about name tags. Do you, as a board members, want name tags?
Yes.
Okay, so when you're out in the community, we're not going to put what you're, like if you're treasurer or president, because you'll
Right.
switch. So it's just going to be your name, Library Board of Trustees. Does that sound good? Does everybody agree
Yeah.
with? Okay, first and last name or just first name?
Probably should be first in there.
First and last name.
Yeah, because it's published on
Yeah.
the web.
Good luck fitting mine on it.
Well, really small
Yeah,
print,
that's
but,
fine.
okay, all right, first and last. Okay, and then also, we have t-shirts. Do you want t-shirts when you're out and about?
Which is Farmington?
Yeah.
Oh, I got a couple.
Yeah.
What did they say?
They say Farmington Community Library. Is there something on the back?
Some of them, I think, had something about reading.
I can show it to you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'd picture one, yeah.
Yeah, there's, yeah, we'll look at sizes and if not, we can order more, but, okay, I just want,
XL or 2XL?
okay. Okay, those are the couple things. Also, just FYI, I am going to be a grandma.
Yay!
Yes,
You can't be that old.
you'd be
Please.
surprised. You're older than
You
I
would be surprised.
But my grandchild is being born April 24th, so April is gonna be a crazy
My
month.
mother's birthday.
So she'll hit 34 weeks on Sunday, but the baby is currently breached, which
Oh,
is
dear.
stressing her out right now.
Yeah.
It has 2 weeks to turn. And if it doesn't turn in 2 weeks, they're gonna try and turn it, and then if they can't turn it, then she's scheduled for a C-section. So
Hmm.
anyway, April, I may be in and out a lot because,
Okay,
yeah.
how exciting.
Any questions for me? Before I turn it over to Carrie?
Do they know if it's a girl or boy?
It's a boy.
It's a boy.
It's a boy. Yes.
Will we get an opportunity to talk with the artist, invite him to a meeting
You
or
could,
something?
yeah.
Are the board members interested in that? I'd like to hear more about what led to it. I don't have that history and
Yeah, I'm
what,
sure he would love to come in and talk.
yeah, I think there's definitely an opportunity for us to understand the connection between community art and the community library featuring that art. So, would love to have him come and speak as a guest.
Sure, I will, probably not May, maybe June.
He's the one that donated that big piece
He
of
has the
art,
triptych too.
yes,
Yeah,
in
we have 2 pieces
nonfiction.
of him, yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I have a question for you, Kelly.
Mhm.
Maria brought it up, but I was also thinking it this morning. Is there a way that we could present at the breakfast that we went to this morning in the State of the City?
We have tried, that's been on the thing for years. Yes, we can. Sherry is the liaison, Sherry Vaughn is the liaison to the chamber, and that's her job. So I will put it, and Susan Arlen seems pretty receptive to partnering with us with a lot of things. So I will get that on the radar.
Okay, I think
Absolutely.
it'd be excellent, especially with the millage coming up. to
Yeah.
Hit those target voters.
I love that idea and think that if we also could have a table of information there to get people engaged with the Friends and be better connected with the library and its programming, I'm sure one of us would volunteer to be at the table as well.
At 7 o'clock in the morning.
It is what it is. I mean, if that's where the community is.
Right.
I mean, not everybody has my sleep schedule in the community. I understand that, and that would be valuable to foster that connection. I know I got a lot of questions from the group about the status of the library, what's new, and I thought, well, if people are asking, then that's a
Right.
good chance to be sharing that information.
Oh, I have a video. Crystal, can you show the teen video?
The teen video?
So it's on the teen program thing. So we're doing the teens are volunteering for the Stingray project. This last time, yeah, it's where it says teen Stingray video. You just click on the link. Do you see it? Oh, you can't?
Hold the control button and click.
Anyway, there were 29 teens at this thing, and they went through like 500 DVDs in their time. It was crazy, and so Jenny took a video, and you should just see they're stacked all over the place. All these DVDs are stacked all over the place. Maybe she can't play it. I don't know. But you can see them on these pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, they're whizzing through them. Because Kathy's getting concerned that we're not gonna make it by our June deadline.
How are we acknowledging and really respecting the time that these volunteers are using for this?
Oh, well, they signed up.
Yeah, but are we, like, is there pizza? Is
Oh,
there
yeah, they get
acknowledgement? Is there
pizza. Yeah,
recognition?
They
Are
get
there
pizza.
books? Do they get to choose a free book if they want to?
Oh, I don't know what
Well,
that part.
they also get service hours.
Yeah, this is,
Okay,
yeah, this is like, they sign up because they need community service hours for National Honor Society or whatever. So that's, and then
Okay.
Jenny feeds them pizza.
Because it really looked like they were working.
They were.
Just wanna make sure everybody's happy.
It's okay if you can't do it. It was a cute video. And we can come back to it. So Do you have any other questions, Gwen? Kathy, do you want to turn it over to Carrie?
I'm sorry. Looking at the pictures. Carrie, Carrie, Kathy Brown.
Good to see you
Nice to
guys.
meet you.
Sorry for my lateness. You know, getting back into the real world, I walked out with an emergency phone call and totally left my packet. So thanks for adjusting the agenda. It's good to be here live and see everybody. I gave you a packet of information. It was also in the board packet. So it's nothing new, but sometimes the hard copies are nice to have. There's two things before you today. So the first is we have been doing quarterly amendments for the budget. And so this is your second quarter amendment that we're looking at. And that would be something that you would be approving today. And then the other piece of it is the proposed draft 23 budget. As you know, you have to have a public hearing for that to actually formally adopt that. But in compliance with your bylaws, we're to have it, Kathy and Kelly, to have it to you in March. So we'll look at both of those. My plan was to go through the PowerPoint slide, but then I can answer any specific questions you may have. So if you want to turn, and I don't know if Crystal needs to.
Okay, I'll get her off the video and put that slide.
Okay.
She's got the slide.
Okay. Do you want me to wait or?
No.
Go ahead. Okay. So in your slide packet, if you turn to the first one, we're going to talk about the 22 amendment first. So in the detailed amendment, there's a total amendment to revenue. This will increase your revenue $33,000 or $33,200. There's a few key adjustments for that, just some more increase in lost book revenue, interest, other income. The biggest amount is the adjustment to the Friends of the Library to adjust it to what we now know the commitment will be for this year. The amendment also has an increase to expenditures of about $243,000. There is a variety of things, the retiree health insurance, the MERS payment, so we have better information now as to what that will be, so we need to increase that. Processing, some maintenance and repair items, insurance book, ILS and information services. So they're all pretty spread. It wasn't, like there's one piece of those. Those are all just incremental things that just had some adjustments. So the way your general fund works and you've set up your budget is any excess of your revenues and expenditures in the fund then becomes a transfer out into your capital reserve fund for future capital projects. So your balance, that's always what gets adjusted. So while your revenue increased some, your expenditures increased more, so that decreases that transfer out. So that decrease out is about $249,000. So if you flip to the second slide, after this amendment, your transfer to the capital reserve fund for this year, if everything goes as the budget, would still be $145,000 that you would move from the general fund to the capital fund. So it's a very positive result still, and we expect adjustments. That's why we do amendments as we go through the year. We will do another one before the end of the year. So we try to wait until June because we want as many expenses to come in to make sure we're as close as we can be. So there will be one more before the year closes out. Any questions on the amendment piece of it? I don't know if you wanted to vote on that before I go to the 23 budget, or did you want to wait until the end?
Kathy, what's your recommendation?
Does anyone have any questions about the amendments? I think we should vote.
Okay. Would you like to put forward a motion?
I motion that we accept the amendments to our fiscal year 2022 budget.
Support.
Discussion, questions? Really? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Motion carries.
All right, perfect. So if we flip to slide 3, we'll look at fiscal year 23's proposed budget. Kathy was kind enough to share some of the pie charts that you've been seeing. So we utilize that mainly to show 22 to 23 for revenue, and then the next slide looks at expenditure. And the message I think for this is to look at it and say that how your revenue is coming in and how your expenditures are being spent are very consistent year over year. It also illustrates that, as you know, and as the property taxes are by far the significant part of your revenue that's coming in. It is a balanced budget. So the balancing of it is with that capital project funds transfer. I think it's around $4,000 at this point. If you turn to slide 4, you'll see the majority of your expenditures, like most libraries, continues to be your staff and retirees. That is a very detailed calculation. Kelly provides us tremendous help in maintaining what we call a personnel cost summary that actually goes down to the level of insurance, all the different pieces by employee, as well as including some positions that are open to be filled for next year. Those have all been incorporated into it. At this time in the draft budget, their salary increases have not been incorporated because I know that's still going through the personnel committee. The one thing that also would be an estimate why I would say it's draft and may change before we go to the public is the property tax number is also an estimate at this point. So we get better information in April from the cities so that we can know exactly what that is and we'll make that adjustment. We put in a 2% increase over prior year because it will go up. Were there any questions specifically on, I know you had the detail within the budget at this time, and again, we'll be before you again, I think we decided on May, correct?
Yeah.
To do the public hearing and then actual adoption of the budget at that time.
And I think we'll probably be coming in sometime before that with actual proposals for increases in salary.
Yes, and we're ready. As soon as you have those, we'll make those adjustments. And then Kelly, our consultant, will work with the cities to get the tax revenue numbers as well. So we can put that into the actual adopted budget.
Okay. I think we thought we would be able to do that this evening, but it'll probably be slated for next board meeting in April.
No problem.
Great.
That was all I had before you. I did include a printout of the glossary of the accounts,
Thank you.
just as you're looking through digesting it so you know what each of them is for. Any questions?
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kathy. I think the fact that we didn't have questions is that you prepared us very well with the information prior to
That's always
this.
good to
So
hear.
you've been very available, as has Plant Moran to you, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Like to, thank you, Crystal, for prompting the slides. Next, we've got a training discussion on
Oh, we
material.
gotta go to IT updates and facilities.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Then we'll shift it back to you.
I'm
What would
gonna
you like to do?
I'm gonna
Kelly?
go to Pat. Pat's gonna explain to you.
And also Pat is the introduction of the staff member, so he's just gonna segue into both of those, okay?
Okay.
Hey, Crystal, can you make me the presenter, please? Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I'd like to talk about our upcoming network project. That is going to cover all of our network infrastructure, the backbone of connectivity for really what ultimately delivers internet network services to patrons and staff. This includes switches, routers, cabling, Wi-Fi access points, both buildings, so really top to bottom, and in some cases, actual physical cabling from the desk to the backbone of the network. We're also including the IT closet for cable management and organization. I don't know if everyone has seen the disarray that one particular rack is in. It's in dire need, so that's in the scope of this project as well. Why this is needed now? All of our infrastructure, even the newest components, are well past end of life. Industry standard is about 3 to 5 years. We're anywhere from 5 to 12 years on most of that equipment that's in production right now. And most of that majority is closer to the 12-year mark. So what that means is there's no maintenance contracts, there's no service agreements, and many single points of failure. So if we were to have a significant break in the chain somewhere along the way, our path to recovery is much more complicated. In some cases would be a total replacement of that unit as a whole. So we're exposed in that sense. When I started back in June of last year, we immediately had a electrical issue in the server room. That was an extreme example, but again, something that wasn't properly maintained, did not have an agreement, and it was very difficult to recover. And we ended up essentially out of IT service for 2 weeks. So we're trying to avoid that happening. We're in a position now where nothing is actively on fire. But again, it's with lead times and chip shortages, all that, this is a good opportunity to be able to get new equipment in. Again, our current design has many single points of failure along it, so a daisy chain rather than redundancy, where if we were to lose a device, then data had another path to go. Right now, it does not. Our wireless infrastructure, we were just struggling with it out there. It's also about 12 years old. Cisco no longer supports that. It's been decommissioned. The access points themselves are older, that you see hanging from the ceilings. So we're suffering, both staff and patrons alike, from the performance of that equipment. So what this particular project will gain for us, namely wireless, that'll be the most instant impact, the most commonly used service for both staff and patron. We have many bandwidth issues, reliability, disconnects all across the board, coverage. So with the implementation of new equipment, that all goes away, essentially. So you'll have much better performance where I get the client, whether it be cell phone, laptop, anything that comes through. The public computers also will gain good performance jump on their network connectivity, so bandwidth throughputs for more intensive, 4K videos or whatever it might be that the patron is using. We're also prepared as a result of this project for higher capacity internet circuits in the future that aren't currently available. So 2, 3 gig, 4 gig internet circuits, which is 4 or 5 times faster than what's available right now. We won't be bottlenecked by our own equipment. So we'll be future-proof for whatever is available when it's available. And the single points of failure I mentioned, those will be addressed with some design modifications. So when we run into our topology and we can see clearly where these two pieces, if they were to break, we're going to lose most of our network. This is an opportunity to change that design. And then lastly, most importantly, on my mind here, is it does harden our network security significantly. We've got our firewalls are newer, so that's at the very top of the chain in a network from the outside in, which is great. However, if you do manage to all of that older equipment, many loopholes. There's not been software patching. So it's very soft. So with the new infrastructure, that is also resolved as well. So when I started back in, I think it was October of last year, in preliminary steps of the project, the pricing was higher. Everything was a bit more than I'm used to for something of this scale. So I dug around for what type of funding would be available. And this is actually a great time to do a project like we're doing. We have what's through USAC is E-rate, and they're currently in category 2. It's a federally funded program that provides a discount rate for any piece of service, equipment, software that ultimately delivers high-speed bandwidth to a staff or patron in the library. So that's all of our project, as it were. So our rate is 50% potentially when we submit. So it could be up to half of the project being paid for. And the way that they work, it's cyclical. So right now we're in the 5-year period of what they call category 2 for network equipment. We get a budget of $405,000 specific for the library. It's based on square footage and a few other factors. So that means we can submit multiple projects up to that funding of $405,000 that's available to us, which we will be doing with that sort of funding. So in that process of E-rate, there's 2 major forms, the 470 and the 471. The 470 form was already submitted. That mainly consists of our part list and what we need for our project. Then it goes out to public bid for a period of 28 days. The public bid has closed. We received 4 bids and a few others, but they did not follow the scope. So 4 legitimate bids. And our next steps here are the 471 form. The 471 form dictates the vendor that we've selected with the agreed upon part list, and then that goes to USAC for their approval of our parts list, and then what they've determined our discount rate or our funding will be. So moving forward, the major deadline coming up on us here is the 22nd of March. That's when we have to submit our 471, which is a commitment to a vendor in our parts list. I've attached our 3 main proposals in everyone's packets here. We do have the ability to select multiple vendors for this project. We don't necessarily have to award the contract just to one particular vendor if the pricing is a little bit different. So we have the ability to pick and choose. So what I'm proposing is we move forward with Charter Technologies for the majority of the work. However, there are a couple components from the Elevate agreement that are considerably cheaper. Yes. So those top 2 line items, the 9300X, they're roughly $7,000 cheaper per unit than the next best competitor. So the plan is to submit our project. So a smaller portion of the project will be those 2 items from Elevate. The majority or the remaining punch list will be through Charter. Once we are approved, or the 471, we've received feedback, whatever funding has been determined available to us will become available by July 1st. Our fiscal year, of course, closes June 30th, meaning that this project will not come out of our IT upgrade budget of fiscal year 22. So it'd be 23. So that we currently have $125,000 roughly in our IT upgrade budget, and that will not be touched for 22. That would be for 23. The project for the terms, we will be paying in full at the completion, at the delivery. So it's not a 50% upfront, 50% at the end. It's 100% after the turnkey's been delivered. The completion date would be somewhere in fall of 22, late fall. There's many constraints on, as we've all heard, chip shortages. It's impacting computer equipment, specifically networking equipment. So that's September, October, potentially early November is when you could expect to see a finished product installed for both buildings. Okay, so that was kind of a lot. trying to quick. So, any questions or comments that come to mind?
I've got a broader question
Yes.
about the impact of citywide broadband.
Mhm.
And how would that fit into this plan?
Citywide broadband, so I'm not sure what, is
So
that,
our cities are looking into investing into
Okay.
having citywide broadband,
okay,
which means then that we would have an opportunity as a community library to support the community in
okay, that's not something I was
Piloting
aware of.
broadband, yeah.
Okay, so delivering via wireless, I presume?
Yep.
Okay, well, that's great for general internet access, and we could definitely leverage it for public. But as far as a network infrastructure and something that we would control, that would still not be sufficient. You know, we'd look at that towards more of a, like an Xfinity or another publicly available point of access to the internet. However, it's not ideal or really usable in a domain setting like ours.
Could they be used then in tandem?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. So we would have a selection, you know, we provide our access. We can utilize citywide broadband, which I presume then would cover in the parking lots and the outdoor areas as well, which would be a huge help. So yeah, there's room for both, that just serve different functions.
Would it help if we brought someone in to talk a little more about that? Because I know enough
Absolutely.
to have this conversation, but not in depth enough to know how we would benefit.
100%. I would love to have the conversation.
Is this, are you able to, or are you concerned about, you know, we've talked in the past about the location of network equipment downtown, and it's kind of vulnerable to possible leaks and stuff like
Mhm.
that.
That's a good point. Especially with downtown, I mentioned that we're gonna be redoing some of that cabling. And when you do that, that's the main piece that keeps that equipment there, where all the cable terminates. So if we're going to be rerunning cable, it's an opportunity to look and see if we can, because a lot of that equipment down there, there is an opportunity to look at another
Okay.
location.
Okay, great, good.
So maybe I missed this, but who's installing this? National IPA Technology Solution?
No, so the installer would be Charter Technology.
Okay, and in the IDL and the MDL?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, my big suggestion is, please make sure they label everything. Because I'll tell you, when they first put this together, they didn't. And it
Mhm.
was horrible trying to figure out what in the IDL went to the
Mhm.
MDL, so
Yep,
please.
the part of the scope of the project will be full network topology, labeling, understanding where terminations go, verifying current labeling, because really you can't right now trust what's been stickered and what hasn't.
Yes, I know that.
We need a big blueprint that someone can follow at the end of this.
Absolutely, yep,
100%.
that's part of the documentation that comes with a project like this.
And then at the branch,
Mhm.
you're thinking you might move the
The networking equipment, yes, and the racks that are down there, I can take some out, so the networking, and we can kind of stage it for, you know, future projects as we upgrade and move. So there's still gonna be a lot of equipment down there, but there's most definitely opportunity to take the actual networking and cabling and find, I'd have to think through it, but find a more ideal location.
Maria, is the owl room, what's in the owl room?
Storage.
Storage. So could that storage be moved into the technocraft room?
Could, potentially.
Well, then that's a thought maybe.
Well, I thought you were moving equipment, I was gonna get more room.
I mean, I can't figure out any other space that it could go, really. I can't figure out any other space where that could
Well,
go.
I mean, yeah, we'll do
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay, I'm just thinking.
And the upgrades at branch specifically, we'll be able to shrink the footprint of the networking equipment quite a bit with the way the cables are organized, with the equipment we're using, so it won't be anywhere near as drawn out as it is right now.
And the automation,
Mhm.
wiring and stuff
Mhm,
too.
mhm.
Okay, cool.
Does this, the nature of this work, is it gonna require at any time that we lose service to the public?
There's potential, but it would be, we can minimize it. There's gonna be a lot of parallel implementations, so when we have new equipment configured, and we take cables over one by one, so we can, you know, if anything blips here and there. But there will be a period that we'll have to decide upon that
Yeah,
for that day,
okay.
we'll have to, you know, Sunday, off the top of my head, would seem ideal after
Right.
closings or, you know, so
okay.
shorter hours.
I have one more question.
Yes,
I
of
know
course.
that when I log into our website,
Mhm.
that it says it's not secure.
Mhm.
Is there a
Yeah.
way to make it secure?
Yeah.
So it's a separate issue there. There are portions within the web page itself that don't have that security certificate applied to it.
Right.
The feedback I've been given so far when I've dug into that is that it isn't feasible to do it across the board, which doesn't make much sense to me because it's a certificate that is just
Right.
applied to a domain.
Right.
Doesn't matter what you wrote your web page in.
Yes.
So things that are payment processing, where we have our Envisionware plugin for donation, that is all secure. That's totally separate. All of the Polaris piece, that's secure. When you go to the main web page, you'll see that it says it's not secure.
Yeah.
So there are functions that don't have that certificate. But I'll absolutely look into seeing what we can do.
Thanks.
Question?
Yep.
I don't know, maybe I'm just missing something, but so you're saying that this E-rate funding
Yes,
is up to 405,000?
that's right.
Okay, and then we've gone through the first level of approval for that, and if we get approved,
Mhm.
the second level, are we just relying on our IT upgrade budget to cover the gap in the calendar, or are we using that and then some of this E-rate budget? And
Sure, so,
not where the money's
right. So the 405,000 is a budget of, so let's say that these projects are around 100, so this point it's about 130, 140,000. So $70,000 ideally would be funded by USEC for the E-rate availability. And then if we choose to submit for multiple projects, which we'd have to follow that 470 process again. And if we had another project for about the same amount, another 70. So then over the course of that 5 years, we build up against that budget container of $405,000.
So it's a max.
Yes,
maximum
exactly,
of
over the cycle,
405,000.
yes.
Over 5
But we'll
years.
probably only need
We-
about
we-
70 for this.
For this one, yes, exactly. Yes,
Why, so these are 3 different bids.
yes.
Why would you choose different companies to do the work? Like what's in the
Sure.
decision?
So, my preference was Charter Technologies. I've actually worked with them in the past at a few organizations. They've done real good work. However, they came in at about, you can see the price difference between Elevate and Charter. So I worked with their CEO over the last week to see if we could find some room on those top 2 items. They don't have the same level of discounting that Elevate's able to offer. So in a cost-saving measure, I'm comfortable just buying hardware from another supplier and then using Charter service.
So I'm guessing these bids won't cover everything that you're going to need. Is it possible to start making purchases from the 125,000 now for things that you need, or you prefer to wait?
Unfortunately, it's not. We could, but it wouldn't be E-rate eligible. So we have to bill it against the E-rate account, and that funding doesn't become available until 7/1. So we're constrained to the process.
Good job finding
Yeah,
that.
thank
Yep.
Mhm.
This puts to rest a major issue that some of us who've been around for a bit and done some needed some closure. So thank you very much. It's very, very, very needed and very much appreciated. Any other questions
Thank you.
before Pat sends
Thank
off?
you very much. So you need a motion, right? You need a motion, is that what we're looking for tonight?
I don't think you need a motion because it's already budgeted in the budget,
Okay,
right?
okay,
Because it's just in the technology upgrade budget line.
okay. I didn't know what we were doing exactly, but you said by the March 22nd,
Yeah.
you're all set.
Okay. So there's not a financial commitment, so to say, on
Right,
March
right.
22nd, but it is an
Okay.
agreement.
It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you,
Oh,
thank
Pat,
you very
Thank
much.
you.
Go into your introduction.
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
don't forget the.
All right.
He was gonna skate out of
He
that.
Oh, boy, so close. All right, we'll do
It's
it.
out of there.
Okay, A little about myself. From the Metro Detroit area. I was born in Royal Oak. Spent first 12 years of my life there and moved to Rochester. Went through the Rochester Public School District. Spent a lot of time at the Rochester Public Library as well. One of three. Got a younger brother and younger sister. Graduated from Oakland University. And lived with my my wife in Oak Park. We actually built a home there a few years back. And of course, 2 cats. You know, interests, love traveling. That one was at Loch Ness in the top left there. Of course, National Monument. Big golfer, hockey, Formula One, motor racing. If you get the idea, big sports guy, love it. Guitar, camping, hiking, and then of course, you know, all things tech. So.
You're a goalie?
Oh, and yeah, that would be the hockey piece. I am a goalie. Yep. Yep. Been playing for 20 years.
Perfect for this job, sending off stuff for us. That's great.
Yeah.
Taking shots, yep. All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to Donald, our facility.
Okay, so I have 3 main points I want to hit on tonight. The most important one, I'll start with the most important, which is the firewall and door curtain issue. As you all know, we've discussed this in the past. I met with the architect just this afternoon, and they were able to find the prints to the building. The original design for the building requires a wall and doors to the old section of the building. However, something happened along the way, and they installed the garage door deal. We don't know how or why the plans were changed, because the plans for the building did not include the door, the garage door. So I'll be contacting the fire department tomorrow, sit down with them and find out which way they want us to go. My guess is they're gonna wanna go with the original design of the building, which is a wall that separates the old area from the new area in the atrium with opening doors.
Wow.
That was an eye-opener to all of us. Second thing is the conveyor system. Kathy McKinney and Megan and I, we paid a visit to Clinton, Macomb, Maine and North Public Libraries, Canton Public Library and Bloomfield Public Library. And their automated systems, they ran great. I mean, it was amazing to see them. In Canton's case, theirs was 10 years old and they're looking for a new one now. And their system runs, I mean, they were all electric. And I mean, the speed at which they processed the material was amazing. So Kathy McKinney has reached out to Envisionware. We have an appointment next Thursday, and we're gonna walk our area, and then we're gonna look at getting some measurements and replacing our system with something similar to what we saw.
How about the Clinton, North branch? It's brand new.
Yes, it is, but their system is like what's downstairs. They've only been open since September, and she said they're already getting a ladder, climbing ladders to free jams in the line. It's really, theirs is really complicated, and I think that, I was talking to Katie, and she let me know, she said, well, Donald, we didn't really think about these issues, and now they're starting to have the same type of problems. Even though theirs is electric, a lot of the components and curves are the same as what we have, so they're having a lot of jams. And they've got about 1.5 foot clearance from the ceiling. So they literally have to get on the ladder and climb on the belt.
They built that building from scratch.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Wow.
Yeah. They're very unhappy about that.
Wow.
And the last but not least is the water fountain project. Tomorrow I'll be meeting with the masonry. One of the problems with Liberty Street is that the water fountain piping is in the wall. It's behind brick. So I've got to tear out the brick before I can place an adequate bid, because we don't know what we're working with. So I'll get those numbers tomorrow, which I don't think that's gonna be terribly expensive, but when you walk in there, you may see a couple of holes on the wall and children's that leads up to upstairs. I'll try to make this as quick as possible so we don't have that type of exposure. but there's no other way to do this project adequately.
Just as long as there are no children in the wall. You know, yeah, that'll be cool.
Any questions?
So you're going to go out for bids then? Is that what you said?
On the water project?
No, on the AMH.
Well, not exactly yet. We need to see what we're dealing with in terms of cost. I mean, the numbers were all over the place for each 3 libraries. I have one library that paid as little as $280,000, another one paid as much as $700,000. So, you know, given how materials are these days with the bouncing back from COVID, when I get those numbers, I'll run them by board and we can have a discussion about which way to travel.
You said Canton wants to replace theirs,
Yes,
and theirs currently operates well.
yes.
Can we buy theirs?
You know, I thought about that, but I wouldn't recommend that. They have whereas in ours is pneumatic, they have a 5-belt system, and the belts are probably about 30 feet long. So the difficulty comes in replacing the belts. So they've got their own share of problems, but it does work really well when compared to ours.
So when you are looking into that, are you thinking that you're getting rid of the pancake belt and that?
Yes.
Okay, and then going out through the wall?
No.
No.
Part of the plan that we discussed is that we would take out both sections, the section where people drop the material inside the building, eliminate that altogether, and eliminate the drive up altogether. There's a new system where when the patrons put the material inside the chute automatically checks the book in. And if we can put bins, then the employees can move the bins from the chute areas to the main line, and they can sort, or they can go straight to carts. Either way though, it's a much simpler process, and it will be less costly either way by removing the existing system and going with the new system.
Mm-hmm.
The parts are, I mean, I spend so much time on the line. I mean, you know, one of the things I gathered from all 3 locations is that they have very few problems. What they've done is they've installed a camera above the line. So when they do have a problem, the staff automatically knows about it. Either they can fix it themselves or they call out TechLogic or somebody else and they can get it going. But they've experienced very few problems with their runs.
And then how would the outside book drop work?
The same way the inside will work.
Where would it come from?
Exactly the same way. We take out the existing pneumatic system at the drive-up book drop and replace that with an RFID that checks the material in once the patron drops the material in the bin.
And then where does it go to? It's going up over the transom?
No, it will go into a bucket.
And somebody would move
So
it.
to speak, and then the employee would take the bucket to the line and then they would load it on the line for sorting.
Ah, okay. Interesting. Cool.
Makes sense.
Far less cost. I mean, it's what we spend it now. It's astronomical compared to what other locations are spending on their lines. So we looked at cost and we looked at space utilization because this will free up a lot of space in that circulation work area. And Kelly and I talked about the different things we could do. We wouldn't do anything to the existing structure.
Right.
Everything remains the same. We could add cubicles in some of that space, move different departments, whatever we chose to do.
Question I have though about the external book drop is what happens at night? Because there's not going to be anybody there to move the bins to
Well,
sort it.
the bins would have the capacity to last us overnight. The bins would have the capacity to last us a few days.
Okay.
I mean, you know, the size of the bins that I saw and that we have a couple of them now, I mean, you could go a week and that thing wouldn't go.
Just like, isn't it just like the outside box at downtown? You know, those can go overnight too.
Okay. Cool.
Any other questions for Donald?
Thank you.
No, thank you, great job. Much appreciated. Okay, Kelly.
So Crystal's up next to talk about material challenges. This is Crystal Sexton, if you don't know, she's our head of children's services here at 12 Mile.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi
Kristen.
there.
So, I'm gonna talk about our collection development policy, how we handle material challenges, and some of the key aspects of the documents that were included, I believe, in your packet. Every library has a collection development policy, and this policy provides internal guidance for staff and is for us, but it also has a dual function of providing transparency for patrons about how we do this work of material collection and maintenance. Our policy was last updated in 1995, so it was time for a refresh.
Wait, let me just show you. If you
Wait,
want to
yeah.
see the old one, here it is. It's
Yeah.
105 pages.
Wow.
And some of that is because they sort of specified each individual collection.
Right.
International language, fiction, Dewey Decimal numbers of the nonfiction. We've eliminated that as a part of our refresh for some good reasons. So in this work, we reviewed policies at similar libraries, including Ypsilanti, Novi, Ann Arbor, Southline, and Baldwin. And as a result, we have a new, strong, relevant collection development policy. It is concise, with clear language, making it more transparent for patrons. I think shortening it and making the language clearer and stronger also helps, especially our ESL community members as well. Our new policy eliminates references to outdated technology, more clearly defines our community members for whom materials are selected, and provides clear criteria for requests for reconsideration. In both the old and the new policies, important professional documents are included that are from the American Library Association. And the new policy contains the updated language because those statements have been updated over the last the last 10 years as well. And I would like to draw your attention to some aspects of these documents. So the Library Bill of Rights, which is essentially our keystone professional document, it is important because it states that libraries should provide materials and information presenting all points of view on current and historical issues. Materials should not be proscribed, forbidden, or removed because of partisan or doctrinal disapproval. The Bill of Rights also states that libraries should challenge censorship in the fulfillment of their responsibility to provide information and enlightenment. Another document that's part of our collection development policy is the access to library resources and services for minors. And it states children and young adults unquestionably possess First Amendment rights, including the right to receive information through the library in print, sound, images, data, social media, online applications, games, technologies, programming, and other formats. Constitutionally protected speech cannot be suppressed solely to protect children or young adults from ideas or images a legislative body believes to be unsuitable for them. Libraries and their library governing bodies should not resort to age restrictions in an effort to avoid actual or anticipated objections because only a court of law can determine whether or not content is constitutionally protected. And then the kind of last statement I want to draw your attention to is the freedom to read statement. That says publishers, librarians, and booksellers do not need to endorse every idea or presentation they make available. It would conflict with the public interest for them to establish their own political, moral, or aesthetic views as a standard for determining what should be published or circulated. So these words and the rest of the words in these documents were drilled into us in library school, and we were trained to leave our personal preferences, biases, and values behind when we arrive at work. This is especially crucial for children's librarians as we are to provide windows and mirrors for young learners. It is important for children to see themselves in the stories and movies they read and watch, the mirror, and it is equally important for them to see how other humans live and what the world looks like and how it works, the window. But one could argue this is also crucial for adult patrons as well. In November of 2021, the American Library Association released a statement on book censorship specifically, saying in part, libraries manifest the promises of the First Amendment by making available the widest possible range of viewpoints, opinions, and ideas so that every person has the opportunity to freely read and consider information and ideas regardless of their content or the viewpoint of the author. This requires the professional expertise of librarians who work in partnership with their communities to curate collections that serve the information needs of all their users.
These documents are listed in the collection development policy because they are the cornerstone of how we select materials for the community and the standards to which we librarians hold ourselves. FCL staff are expertly trained to look at multiple review sources and wisely select materials with the public's interest in mind. Our strong collection development policy guides these selections. One section of the policy does address requests for reconsideration of materials in that process. Occasionally, members of the public request items to be removed from the collection or moved to a different part of the collection. Such requests can be made via an online form in line with the criteria mentioned in the policy. In some cases, these are moments of the public attempting to censor materials or even ban them. As demonstrated with the statements I just read, there is little reason to remove an item from the public library's collection based on such a request. And it's important for the board to note, even in the extremely rare event we do decide to remove an item, it can still be available to patrons via one of our shared consortium resources and databases, such as Libby, Mel, or Tumble Books. But as I said, removal is highly unlikely, as our commitment to providing the best collection for every human in our community remains unshakable. So, members of the board, the next step is for you to review and vote on this collection development policy so we can continue to move forward, serving our community with a great 21st century library. And if the public is looking for more information, the Michigan Library Association is holding an online hour about censorship live on March 17th at 10 a.m. and an afternoon replay that same day at 4:30. And you can contact the library for the links to register and we will share them with you. So that kind of concludes my little presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Which one are you looking for us to approve of documents again?
It's the collection development policy.
The
That
blue.
should be,
Yeah.
yeah, that one.
Minors is 18 and under.
Yes. Oh, there, okay, there you go.
Thank you.
You don't have
I know
that.
you,
You don't necessarily have to vote on it tonight, I'm just saying that's the next step. That's whatever.
Yeah, if you have time to look at it, but if you have
to read
questions.
through it, yeah.
Are the library the professional associations, because I haven't got caught up yet on, I've only been thinking about this from the school point of view.
Yeah.
And today, I just saw the headline that Florida and probably Texas is moving on not allowing anyone to feel guilt.
To do what? Feel guilt.
You cannot make anyone feel guilt for anything that happened in the past.
Oh.
And that's going to be, they're actually going to make that a state law. So how they do that, but regardless, I mean, I know that's gonna impact school curriculum. Our library's talking about legal, like, I know what you're saying, like, you had the line, Crystal, about, it's not in here, but you said it, and your exact wording was about legislative pressure or something like that.
Right.
Okay, and I know Michigan is not there yet, but we're close. If such a law, what I'm asking, are the national associations discussing the possible impact of any of those laws on a public library collection?
Well, I think like you just said, the target really right now is school libraries.
Right.
We come in for some of those challenges, but it's really because of what we're governed with the First Amendment and making materials accessible to everyone who walks through the door. We have some protection there. So I think the focus is right now to protect school libraries and advocate for them. And also I think that they've updated these statements, which is the reason we needed to update our collection development policy anyway, because we didn't even have the correct language for these documents in there anymore. And I think they feel that it's strong, and this is it's as strong as we can make it.
Yeah. Anecdotally, I've been trying to find some things personally in American history, and I was wandering through West Bloomfield and through Northville, and I think our American history collection is by far superior to, other libraries that I've been to, and I just want to make sure that, we keep doing, we keep doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what, we spent a lot of time training staff, and of course, those with the library science degree have that education and expertise when they.
I mean, I can remember being in library school and that, I mean, I was to give up my job and my life to
Right.
defend a book that was being challenged, and it was like, well, wait a minute, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet, you know? It was like, you're asking a lot, but you know, yeah, it's drilled into you.
It is, it's one of the most important aspects of our work.
I'm wondering if it would make sense and to add this idea to the policy, that it would be part of the policy, that we state somewhere in the children's area or even upstairs at the checkout, the statement that the Farmington Community Library opposes restricting access to library material and services for minors that holds its parents and only its parents who may restrict their children. Just have this statement posted for parents to read. I think that gives us a lot of protection when people, I mean, all of the comments that I've read that we've got about books that people want to remove from their shelves are like, this could happen in the hands of, you know, what if my kid happened upon this? We're kind of saying that's the responsibility of the parents as posted at our libraries. So that's what I would personally like to see added this policy. I don't know what other people think, but just to have a physical posting of that, both in the children's and by checkout, that that we can stand back on whenever that statement is brought forth, and also letting parents know it is their responsibility and not the library's responsibility to decide what's appropriate for their children. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Megan, I think that's a fantastic point.
It's a great idea.
I-
It's a great idea.
And I think also,
I
take it
I
one
actually
step
don't
further,
agree with that, but
when a parent,
I don't agree with that, but go ahead.
when a parent is taking a card out for their child, that they have an understanding of what the rights and responsibilities are for, as a guardian. I mean, I'm all in support of parents getting a card, a library card for their children, but have more of an active involvement as a parent. You know, not just drop off and drive back and wonder what your card, did for that child, but maybe have that piece of information shared with the parent at the time they're checking out a card, or supporting that level of civic activity. So I would be in support of that.
I don't mind having if a parent, when you sign up for a library card, I don't mind. That would be a great time to give that information to a parent, that responsibility. A sign that says that I fully support the policy, but why I don't like the sign is because it's just not, it's not that welcoming to me. Like, it's very aggressive, and it's, to me, it doesn't set the right tone for the way the library space should be, I don't think. Like, I think, yes, we know the policy and we're fully ready, and I'm fully ready to die for it. But I don't want to put a sign out on the desk anywhere that says, this is, that to me is, I don't know, that personally, I don't want to do that.
And I worry that it might awaken more
Yeah.
conversations and
Yeah.
start more of thinking in that direction than if we didn't have it at the checkout stations. We're very big on building relationships with the people in our department, as you probably all seen if you come down and visit us. And so we have these conversations where we mention that this is enshrined in our policy, that we never act in local parentis. It's up to the parents, the guardians, to do that. So that does come up occasionally. And so far, I feel like most of the time our challenges come from people who don't even have kids in the district, or are just, one of the things that you'll note in the policy is if they do request us to reconsider a material, we require that they've actually watched or read at least 75% of the item in question, because often that can weed out a lot of people who are just working from a list that someone gave them. So that's another way we strengthen this going forward. And I think for the average family who comes in, we have what they need when they're happy and they leave satisfied. And we'd also have to, I think, if we talked about a sign, we'd have to think about making sure that it was written in a way that all of our patrons, and we have a lot of ESL families, can access.
Yeah.
So it just might be a really big sign with different languages, and then I don't know if that's the space we want to present either. So, but we can definitely talk about that with the supervisors.
Quick question, Crystal. What are the restrictions, if any, that you guys do have for materials for minors? Are there any restrictions? So
None,
right?
because the access to library resources and services for minors says just because they're of an age that we, you may personally deem this content unsuitable, we don't make that decision. That's up to the parent and the guardian to make that decision. An 11-year-old might be able to handle watching a PG-13 movie if their parent so deems it, and a 15-year-old may not be able to. There's no way we can determine that.
So like pornography would be.
We don't really, I don't know if we carry, considered pornography.
So
Like adult film,
okay,
we don't
so
have
things
that.
like that we don't even carry in the library.
No.
Okay. So.
I don't spend a lot of time in the adult section.
And they would be in the children's department.
Right, yeah,
Right, of
exactly.
course. Well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not in the children's department.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd have to go seek it out.
Yeah, they'd have to know where it is and how to find it, and then I guess
Clearly,
they're really
we couldn't show them
determined.
because we don't even know.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I don't think we have anything like
I don't
that.
think we do either, but I don't know. Well, and it would depend on what it's for.
That's true, but like adult films, I don't believe
Right.
we have any of that content in the library that I've ever seen, in any library I've ever looked at, I've never seen. That's not.
That's not something they have access to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have a question about the criteria for weeding and withdrawal.
Okay.
I mean, as things become inaccurate with history or no longer relevant.
Right.
So these are things that you use criteria that you use to decide, is this what we're using today or is this new?
This is actually the same as the old policy, and the crew method that's in the appendix is a well-established method that's been around for decades, longer than I've been a librarian. So a good example of that is like Pluto, how it was reclassified. So we went and updated our, new science books, Facebook, with the accurate portrayal of, I don't know, what is Pluto now? It's dwarf planet? Dwarf planet. So that's something that has happened, in recent times. That's a good example.
And for instance, when, Russia was, when the USSR came down, like almost overheated.
Yeah, and the geography books do have to be updated frequently, so that changes frequently.
Is there decision-making around or criteria to measure how things are no longer accurate culturally?
Give a specific example, or do you want to stick with that?
Dr. Seuss.
So
'19 project.
Exactly.
Yeah, so Dr. Seuss books are still in our collection, but we have made a decision, since it's part of our organizational goal to be more diverse and inclusive, we no longer have a Seuss birthday party. That's a program we used to have, and so we've made that commitment not to necessarily celebrate that author anymore, but we don't censor material. So his picture books are still, and early readers there's many copies downstairs that I can show you if you'd like. So anyone can access them. It's all about having the wide-ranging point of view so that everyone can come in and find what they're looking for.
I'd like for this to be sent to us via email, if we could, and then placed on the next agenda for us to move forward and support or voice any other concerns or questions that we might have and have a time to consider it, along with the additional supplemental information that you provided. It's really, really helpful and eye-opening, and actually very encouraging to know that you could step into any library and have this be the guiding principles of what you can expect. That's really fantastic to hear. So, any other questions?
And I will say that also part of the criteria for submitting that request for reconsideration, we asked them to read through all of these documents, the Library Bill of Rights, the Code of Ethics, the Freedom of Speech Statement, so that they know exactly where they're gonna stand, probably, and where we stand, with the request.
Thank you so much, Crystal.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Very interesting, very topical.
Okay, anytime. If you need to.
Thanks, Crystal.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for sending that on. Next on the agenda, we have our subcommittee updates. Michelle, would you like to provide anything for strategic planning?
So we haven't had another strategic planning meeting since the last board meeting, but what Kelly has done is taken all of the examples of RFPs from what we discussed last board meeting, and kind of mushed them together to a really great, better than a great start draft of what we think we need from a communications firm that would do a strategic plan. So we've kind of been going back and forth this week, just kind of editing it among the strategic planning committee. And I don't have something ready for you tonight, but I will for the next meeting so that you can look at it and go from there. So I think we will schedule another meeting between now and the April board meeting. We're in March, right? Yeah. And so that we can kind of figure out the nuts and bolts of where we're going to go next. That's what I have.
Great. And Personnel Committee, Ernie wasn't able to be here this evening, so I think we might just add more time if we could, Kelly, to the next one. You might have twice as much
Right,
to discuss at that point. I know that there were some things on his mind that he did want to bring to the board's attention, so rather than speak to those points, I think we can go ahead and wait for the next meeting. I know that one of the things that Ernie wanted to bring up was the salary increase for staff, was titling for director, was also aligning with the budget. So lots that we can expect for the next meeting. If you have any questions in the interim, please reach out directly to Ernie. I know I hope he's listening to this and saying, really? But yes, reach out to Ernie with any questions. I'd like to move on to the next line on the agenda, if that's okay. Anybody have any other questions, comments for our subcommittees before I do that? Great. Okay, so we do have some unfinished business regarding space utilization. And by way of reminder, the FCL is considering an investment in, as you know, maximizing the utilization of the space within the library. And that we had requested bids from firms to provide proposals for this purpose. Thank you, Donald, for providing a walkthrough for those firms that had placed bids. And so there was a date and time scheduled for those walkthroughs. And two firms requested accommodation to the start time and or date in order to conduct the walkthrough. And they requested that accommodation due to extenuating circumstances, two different sets of circumstances, but both couldn't make it at the exact time and or date for the walkthrough. As an accommodation to those firms, they were allowed to take a walkthrough at a different time and or date that aligned with schedules. It was viewing the building. There was no other accommodation needed or requested at that time. All of you have received a written opinion and memo from our council for the library and library board. Thumbs up if you did receive that. Okay. Then what I'd like to do is, if there aren't any need for in-depth discussion, is to just move forward with with a motion and a second on it if we're comfortable and inclined, and then discussion, if any. And if the discussion should require anything that was shared with us by council, then we could entertain a motion to go into closed session if that's not necessary. And we can have discussion and take action. We should consider that in the interest of transparency to the public, as well as in the interest of timing for this evening, moving forward. So I'd like to move to accept the proposals that we've received from two selected firms, Merritt Slezak Design and Lukenbach Riegelman Gardner Architects, to provide FCL with a space utilization study for its two buildings and to have those firms present the space utilization proposals to us during our next board meeting.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion, or if there's a need for closed session, we would need to have that as part of a new motion, but otherwise we could do discussion and then vote.
I just think it'll be very helpful to have them come back and do a presentation and give a little bit more information and possibly have a question and answer session so that if we have any further questions that we could ask them.
Great. I would be open to taking those questions from board members, and again, in the interest of transparency, having all of them shared with the firms prior to, so that they could have equal opportunity to respond when they come in. So thank you for that. Any other comments, questions? Are we comfortable moving forward with a vote regarding the motion? Okay, all those.
Please restate the motion, please.
Yes. Moving to accept the proposals the library received from two selected firms, Merritt Slezak Design and Lukenbach Ziegelman Gardner Architects, to provide FCL with a space utilization study for its two buildings and a presentation of those studies at our next board meeting. Are we okay moving forward to vote?
I have no objection.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Thank you. We can go ahead and let them know for next board meeting. Okay, if they're available. If not, then we can revisit that. New motion if they're not available. Okay, thank you. On to new business. That is the next item on our agenda. MCMR.
Thank you. My name is Tom Sherman. How are you guys?
Fantastic.
I appreciate a moment of time on your agenda. We asked Kelly for this, and primarily not for any reason other than to say thank you. This board and the library have been partners with MCMR for a considerable period of time. Better than 20 years that I know of in regards to Martin Luther King Day, but as long as I know MCMR existed, it has been. The last 2 years have been particularly important to carrying off the Martin Luther King Day celebrations because of the nature of the community, the nature of the threats we all were under relative to COVID, the needs to do flexible planning pretty much at last minute. And so for beginning of 21-22, life was different, and we all know that. And I think that it is important for us, MCMR as a whole, to say thank you to the library, to the board for supporting that process, to the Friends for the funds that they extended. That's also important to say. But the community would not have been able to move forward had it not been for the work that the library added to that effort. And although it is a community effort and the cities are involved and there are citizens involved, there was a significant uptick in the effort put forward by the library in the last 2 years. And I think from our perspective, we just want to make sure that that is being conveyed. We didn't want to just leave it to somebody to convey for us. We wanted to convey it for ourselves. I know that Dr. Pat Coleman Burns is joining with us, and I'll be glad to let her speak for a minute. And if you want to ask us any questions, we'll stay for just a minute. But you decide how you want to handle that. You're reading, not mine.
Is she in?
I don't know if she said she was zooming in, so I'm kind of at a loss to know what she said she was gonna do and not know whether she did it or not.
I don't think she's there now.
And yeah, as Kelly's looking for that, Patricia Coleman Burns has done a significant portion of MCMR now. We in effect are functioning as co-chairs now, and I think that I wanted to give her that opportunity to express something also. But if this isn't going to happen, I'm kind of left to not know how. Yeah. Well, you know, we spoke on Monday. I was under the impression she was. Yeah, I knew she was not likely to be here in person, and I thought she said she was coming. But if that's not the case, then okay. I won't steal her thunder. No, she can, yeah, that's okay. And Pat wants to not only express her support from the MCMR point of view, but also thank you for a number of other things that the library has worked very effectively with other groups that are affiliated with MCMR, and MCMR participates in cooperative arrangements. The Juneteenth arrangements last year were, again, impossible without. They were going to happen one way or the other, but the support was extraordinary. And I think that we just wanted to say thank you. We appreciate the continued partnership. We appreciate that the partnership has continued as long as the library has been here, and we've been part of this community. I know that I'm trying to just play it in my mind. Martin Luther King Day became an effective. We're going to do it in Michigan in 1994. That's when the state law was this simultaneously with the federal designation. There have been some iteration changes, and at each of the iteration changes, schools, participating schools, not participating schools, open schools, not open, places available, places not available, one way or the other, from that period of time, this institution has been a part of that. And in many cases, yeah, it's important to just say thank you, and that's why we're here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking time this evening to come and share that with us. We truly appreciate it, and appreciate the continued focus on including all members of our community. Very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I really, I don't want to take more time up. Agendas are precious.
A man who gets it. Okay. And next in new business, we have the building closure for the gala. I'm assuming that's June 3rd, correct?
Yes, so generally, in order to do setup for the gala and stuff, the 12 Mile Library has to close at 4 o'clock. So we need to approve, so I need approval to close at 4 o'clock for the gala on Friday, June 3rd.
I move we close Friday, June 3rd at 4 o'clock.
I second.
Any discussion? 4 o'clock closure, June 3rd, in support of the Friends of the Library Gala.
Just a question, do staff help with the setup and everything? Yeah. Okay.
With no discussion or questions, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, any other new business? We'll move on then to board trustee comments and announcements. The only comment I have is that, thank you for sharing that Library Week will be April 3rd through the 9th. Staff appreciation is certainly a really critical thing to do year-round, but if that's an opportunity for us to especially carve out time for that appreciation and valuing our staff, I'd like to have recommendations made to the board on how we can show up.
Okay.
Or support the library staff has been tireless and patient and willing to allow a new chapter to be turned and allow the board to continue being here and showing signs of collaboration. It's a welcome shift. All of us have an obligation to continue that in being supporters of the library. So if there is, outside of this statement and any other statements from board members, a way for us to show that appreciation, please count me in. I'd like to ask our board members to also consider ways to show appreciation during that week and beyond. And if you do have ideas, to contact me, but please do include us in that.
Okay.
Think of ways to include us in that. I'd also like to invite all of you to ramp up for the millage. So Kathy, thank you for sending around that information from the MLA. If all of you have a chance to read it, or if you already have, you know that we have a task in front of us. The primary obligation of us, each trustee, is to be public relations experts. Everything that we do, this is what we do for the library. This is why we're trustees, is to be that conduit to the community, to connect with supporting the library and understanding their role in doing that very clearly and succinctly. I am not a millage expert. The training helped. It's not enough. We're all going to have to kind of roll up our sleeves and do the learning here about what we need to learn ourselves, but then what we need to know to be that conduit to the community so that they can connect with the importance, what it's going to mean. It's incredibly critical to the longevity of the library, obviously, but we'll need to each be campaigners. I don't know if you've ever run a campaign. This is exactly that. As public relations, knowing your talking points, getting out into the community. You're already there anyway. Don't be shy in a grocery store. People are stopping you anyway, right? Asking, how's the library going? I have a question about a book. Like, they're already stopping you. I would be wanting to have everyone maybe get comfortable stepping a little out of your comfort zone and knowing that in the ramp up to millage, and I know it's a few years off, but trust me, it'll be here sooner than we think. Start thinking about ways that we as board trustees can show up in broader audiences, in broader venues, and even in our own neighborhoods to start campaigning and being that public relations face. I reached out to our city council mayors for both cities to ask that they step up and support the library board in broader ways as well. In the past, the idea has been, well, you know, it's not a city library. No, but it sure is a reason people value the city. So the ask was to consider supporting broader transparency when new board members will be appointed so that there is at least better communication. Not necessarily that we have the obligation or power to control the decision, but allow us the courtesy to see who's selected before they show up on day one. Like, let us have a welcome mat out for them. Allow the executive director to know who's coming. Point a person from each city council to come and be a liaison. Every other city commission or board has a city council liaison. And I realize we represent 2 cities, but there is an opportunity to have both cities, even if they want to rotate. So the invitation's out there. If any of you are attending city council meetings, make us look just like, yes, you want to come and be part of this. Send us a city council member or 2, purely to be a liaison and connect with it. The obligation of the millage will involve the same constituents that vote for these individuals that will be supporting the millage for us when we get over the line. So I would invite you to take that on if you'd like. I would also like to know if you're comfortable, if I extend the invitation to have a city council member come and give us an update, what they're doing. And if at that time we have requests or questions, to go back to them. It won't be, you know how I am about agendas, so yeah, I'll be limiting when an elected official will say to us, but I really would like a report and for deeper transparency about what the city council believes their roles are in supporting the library and the board, and vice versa, continue a good communication back with them. I'm curious and open to know if you'd be okay using any portion of our agenda time to facilitate a liaison from the city councils. Nobody's running. Yay. Okay, nobody's running out of the room saying no. And certainly, if you've got recommendations along the way, we should feel free to share those. You can send those directly to me. So based on availability in the next couple of board meetings, I'll see either if the mayors want to appoint somebody or de facto just reach out to city council members and invite them to come and see what we're up to and what we need, what we'll need now and into the future. So
may I make a comment about the millage presentation?
absolutely.
I just wanted to let you know, I did send that out to everyone. I attended the millage meeting webinar on Monday. It will be held the next 3 Mondays at 1 o'clock. Next week is going to be, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the group, but it has been.
Every library.
Every library, yes. And they are a group that helps libraries work with millages, and they don't cost anything. So it might be a really good idea, if you can, to attend that one so you get the presentation. Or I'll send along the next thing, because I'm going to attend all 4 of them. So just to let you know.
I also think it would
That's
might
helpful.
benefit for having them come here and talk to you at a
Would they be
meeting.
open?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Crystal had them at Ypsilanti, didn't she? Wasn't
They
it?
were fantastic. They helped us, well, I should say us, because it's a library, but when they, the director brought them on board at Ypsilanti District Library, the millage passed over 70% with a yes, and that had never happened in that community before. And so I worked very closely with the leader of every library, John Koshka, who incidentally is also the one who's speaking at the censorship hour that I was just talking about from MLA. Really good guy, and I learned a ton about millage campaigns from him, but I think with what we're facing, it would really benefit us to bring them in, and it doesn't cost us anything. So it's a free resource that could be invaluable.
You want to reach out? Should I reach out? Should we do it together?
We can, but like what meeting would this be?
It'll be based on their availability.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, let's start getting calendars before the end of the year to see.
Right.
Jim, yeah.
So just back to the idea, so having city liaison, we're not a city commission. I of course have no problem of improving the relationship between the city, but I mean, we can, and we have said previously that we would, we would go to the cities, the reason why I'm saying all this is I don't mind having a liaison, but then why are we leaving the school board out, for example, or other entities in the community that are roughly equivalent? We're not equivalent status because we're not a volunteer, but do you understand? Like, so it's, do we need to have liaisons from other? I guess I think it's fine to have somebody come in. I just don't want to cement a relationship with just the cities and not acknowledge that there are other groups that we should be relating to as well.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. I can offer clarification of what my intention was, and not that that has to be the way that it's approached. The cities appoint each of us.
Right.
The mayors appoint each of us, and oftentimes that's done without a clear understanding of the appointment process, the selection process, or even the opportunity for board members to understand how to welcome a new board member, to prepare adequately for new board member orientation, to allow for a seat at the table, to have our voices heard about if there's a particular skill set of representation at the table, to make that known to the city councils. It's been rather odd, actually, that if we have opinion, I don't know where that goes.
Right.
Absent all of us going to a city council meeting, or even one of us doing that, I think the liaison, we could choose the cadence of connection, but it is a big gap, oddly, because they select who sits around the table.
Right, and I would say probably what they would say is that until 2018, they rarely ever did it because the board, board members continued to serve and there wasn't a lot of turnover compared to what there has been in the last 4 years.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying fault on any of this,
Yeah.
right? Just say, yeah, Bob.
So Jim's statement made me think of a similar discussion under a prior iteration of this board. And the concern at that time was, to put it simply, limits and a clear desire on the part of city councils to meddle with the operation of the board and with the operation of the library. And it's true that this was largely pushed, I guess is the best way to put it, pushed by a former member of this board that I would consider to have left in disgrace. But that being the case, the point is that by giving a person a status of liaison, it may give them the impression of an authority that is not real. In other words, a heightened level of self-importance. Because I'm here, I must be important, if you will. And so I would be reluctant to endorse that unless there are clearly delineated purposes and limits. That's my comment.
Do you have a recommendation on a path forward to have a better connection, absent a liaison being designated?
No.
Well, at the bare minimum, and I don't know their schedule, but they're pre-COVID, there used to be a joint meeting, and I'm not talking about the city's meeting, although, yeah, it's good it's obviously good we were there, but there used to be a joint meeting at times, in certain years, it was a tripartite meeting, the two cities and the school board together. And the library should be probably a part of that. Even if it's just a joint meeting with the city. I mean, one of their complaints was that they weren't getting quote information from the library, and they frankly get a bigger audience too, like because of video coverage and whatnot. So anytime we present at a city meeting, and the only time that I did it was at Farmington Hills. Obviously it was a joint meeting held at 12 Mile or at Farmington Hills, but we got to present and just that. I mean, that there was an agreement that at least once a year we would kind of give them a state of the library, and that has been that hasn't happened each year because of COVID. But now that we're getting back to something close to normal, that's at least a step. And I don't know why the school, the last year that it was the two cities and the school board was probably 2015 or so. I don't know what happened there.
So it's once a year, the state of the library as part of what?
Well, again, at least once a year, they have a joint meeting. Both city councils gather to talk about things that impact the entire area. And the library should, can easily be a part of that meeting. And we can present at that time, kind of our state of the library to both city councils at that time. And if they have questions, it's always a good time for them to ask too. And all what I said was, because it's at a city council meeting and they have their video feeds, it's often a bigger audience for us too.
Okay. Any insight onto when that is?
I thought it was in the summer, isn't it?
Yeah, well, again, it's been all, thrown out of whack because of COVID. The last time we went was like February of 2019.
Jeanette,
Yeah.
seems like appointments to the library board are made or end in June or February. So seems like if one of the goals is to engage the councils in some sort of information about who's on the board and how what skills we need and the things that you said, it might be useful to do that around the time when they might be thinking about new board members.
Okay. Any other suggestions? Again, the real objective is to have better communication.
And I don't get me wrong, I fully support that. I'm not trying to block any idea you have. I just would be
No, that's all right if
concerned
you want
about.
to.
No, I'd be
It's not
concerned
gonna be the
about
best idea.
naming a liaison.
Is communication a problem? And if so, how does it manifest?
In poor appointments to the board.
Who are you talking
I
about?
know, wait a second, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about some of the history of, for a long time. I'm not saying that we need to continue being stable in terms of membership on the board, but there is certainly some direction that the library has taken and the board has supported that has stabilized this board and the library staff to empower them to do their best job. I'm hoping that with broader communication, it would build a bridge to have everybody invested in that continuation of that stability.
Did you just say we had a problem, the problem is no longer a problem, and it's all better now?
No, what I said is that we have reached a state of stabilization. To continue that, we should try to have enhanced communication so that everybody values that moving forward. But I will say that probably city council members might be listening to this meeting. So would we, I wouldn't be opposed to if they wanted to, just like any community organization wanted to take time on our agenda to come give updates or to whatever they want. So if somebody comes forward saying I'd like some time on your agenda, I would certainly not close that off to any community organization or anybody representing our communities to have time on the agenda. So I really appreciate the input. Is there any other, Renee, you said?
Oh, I was just gonna offer to find out when the meeting is in the summertime where everybody gets together, if that would be helpful.
I think so. That would be helpful. And then I like the idea of June or February, finding a way to make a connection with our city councils, either us going to them or vice versa. I'm creative. I'll come up with something. So for now, I'll hold off on anything other than maybe finding a time, space and time to do that, to reach out. Any other new business? Any other comments, announcements from board members?
Quick comment. I just want to say thank you so much to all the staff that presented tonight, and I mean, just the thoroughness and just everything that's done in excellence. And I mean, not that I know what that is, but you guys just really knock it out of the park every month. And so I just really appreciate it. And MCMR coming to thank you guys truly is for all your hard work. I just really appreciate what you guys do for our community.
Ditto. What she said.
Here.
From all of us. Did we have any public comment, Jim, that was submitted? That's the next item on the agenda.
No written correspondence.
Okay. And Kelly, you've already shared with us. Are there any members of the public or staff that would like to utilize public comment?
How can that be?
Okay. Thank you. Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn. A second?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm just gonna offer this for half a second. Pat Burns just trying to get up right now.
Oh, okay.
If you could hold your adjournment for just that brief. moment.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
I'm admitting her now.
There.
There she is. Can't
Crystal,
tell where
can
I'm
you?
waving yet.
Yeah, Crystal, can you unmute her if she needs to be?
Oh, wait.
It's good to see your face, Dr. Burns. Hello.
She's muted.
I know. We're working on unmuting you. Hold on.
This brings back memories of Zoom calls.
Sell your Zoom stock if you still have.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I guess it was something I needed to do.
Can you hear me?
I can now, yes.
Fantastic. Well, we just entered into public comment and the floor is yours if you'd like to make comment.
Tom is starting, right?
So Tom already presented, and so, okay, so this is going back then on the agenda to MCMR, is that right, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I was wondering why we were,
I'm sorry.
no, it's late, I haven't eaten, whatever, so,
My
so you'd
goodness.
like to
And I'm-
comment for MCMR, correct? You are on the agenda then, so please, go ahead.
Right, and I welcome all of, thank you for having me and for the work that has been done in our community with our library. I'm coming out of meetings too as well, but we just wanted to celebrate and thank you and the community and your staff for an amazing work that has been done and in celebrating continuously without missing a beat. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King celebration has been amazing. They've been so supportive. I think our community has benefited from the work of the staff. I know we in the community and at First AME Church have been so blessed by the work that you've been doing for Juneteenth. And so we just wanted, sometimes folk only bring complaints to boards. They only tell you what's not working. They only tell you what needs to be done. And we just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for the guidance and for the amazing staff that we have in our community. And we look forward to continuing to work with you in the days ahead as we come out of this pandemic, as we celebrate the importance of reading for all of our children. We don't need to ban or burn any books. We need to read more books. And so we thank you again. And if Tom hasn't already said it, the work with the staff has been phenomenal. We've just had a great opportunity to advance literacy, culture, community, and we will commit ourselves to continuing to do so. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for taking time out of your evening to share that message of appreciation. Any comments from board members for Dr. Burns?
That was excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you too, Tom. Appreciate it. Have a good evening. With that then, we'll skip back into the agenda for someone making a motion for adjournment.
I did motion.
Okay, in a second? Okay, motion, ayes?
Aye.
No, any nays? Motion carries, we are adjourned.
That's cool.
How do you leave the meeting?
Look at that, 8:09. I was confused, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do public comment. I don't want to do that, but it's Dr. Burns. How are we doing this? And I'm like, oh, good, okay. So back to the agenda.
I didn't know.
You know what, I got an idea.
Well, we're just surviving.
It's an addiction somewhere between
I
minor.
thought it was like other categories.
I'd have to
right when they started talking about all the different.
I don't know who would be on it, but if it's on like
different
Friday morning.
sections. Usually it's on this section or this category.
Oh, you're not, are you?
Well, there was a
Okay.
couple that said
Jim, what do you
district
think?
library. I thought we haven't.
Breakfast, did you say?
Talk
I
coherently
would
about
agree
it.
with everybody.
Yeah.
Always in favor of breakfast.
Well, no, the idea would be that we would serve staff breakfast.
Oh, that research.
On a Friday morning.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I like that idea.
You like the idea?
I like to serve people breakfast.
Yeah.
I know I can make it myself.
And then we met people that aren't.
I just want to say,
Hi, Tom, yeah, thank
you
you.
guys did all your.
Thank you.
Hey, good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom, it's very nice. Yeah.
You know,
I mean, we don't have to.
You're getting out of here.
Uh-huh.
we're good.
Sorry.
Just going around. I'm on my way. Safe.
Oh, you are?
So it has.
Well, I can get you.
We've got.
Yeah. Oh.
Princess supplies, I don't know what day they're supplying.
Okay.
It's usually, no, it's from the bakery, but maybe it's like, I mean, it's free and it's not breakfast.
Right,
We
right.
can figure that out.
Okay.
Friday, Saturday.